People often ask me why God does not perform the same kind of miracles that he used to perform, like in the Old Testament, and I could list some that you haven't seen in your lifetime, nor have I. The answer to that question is clear if you understand miracles in the Bible. This is a good place for me to just insert this for all of our admonition and information. God has a plan for his miracles. And his plans do not happen to include a constant repetition of the same kind of miracle in every time and in every place. If miracles happened every day, they wouldn't be called miracles, they would be called everyday experiences. We wouldn't even call them miracles, nor would we notice them. God has wisely protected the significance of his miracles by making sure that they are very rare. So I want you to just take a moment and imagine that you're outside and you're looking up in the sky, and you look at the whole panorama of the sky, and as you look, you see three very noticeable clusters of stars, some here and some here and some here. That is a good picture of how miracles appear in the Bible. For instance, the first cluster of miracles took place under Moses and Joshua. And those miracles included the 10 plagues, the dividing of the Red Sea, the water from the rock. But after Moses and Joshua, the miracle season ended, and more time went by between that set of miracles and the next than you can ever imagine. It was a long period when there was not one miracle. And then the next cluster of miracles came at the time of Elijah and Elisha. When Elijah walked on the scene, as we have learned today, Israel was in such bad shape, things were so awful that if God hadn't divinely intervened with signs and wonders, there would have been, humanly speaking, no hope that Israel could ever be restored. So Elijah and Elisha performed miracles. As I've already mentioned, Elijah multiplied a bowl of flour, a jar of oil. He breathed new life into the widow's dead son. He called down fire and rain from heaven. And when Elisha came along after him, he got a double portion of what Elijah got. And Elisha performed exactly twice as many miracles as his predecessor. So now we've seen Moses and Joshua, and we've seen Elijah and Elisha. Moses was the great lawgiver. Elisha was the great law restorer. Elijah was the great law restorer. And after Elijah and Elisha comes a long period of silence. In fact, between the close of the Old Testament and the beginning of the New, there was no word from God at all. There was no prophet, there was no writing, there was nothing. It was as if God had gone away. God stopped speaking for 400 years because he wanted to protect the absolute uniqueness of the next great major event that was going to take place in his plan of redemption. And then one night, the stars shone down over a stable in the village of Bethlehem, and the fullness of time had come. Pay close attention to this amazing fact. For the first 30 years that Jesus walked upon this earth, he didn't perform one single miracle. The first miracle came when he changed the water into wine at Cana of Galilee, and he did that as an adult. He was the sinless Son of God, but his life wasn't miraculous in the early days of his walk upon this earth. But during the 3 years of his public ministry, he performed many miracles, proving that he was indeed Jesus Christ. And when he went back to heaven, his apostles also performed miracles in the afterglow of his presence on this earth. So if you take the sweep of history from creation in the book of Genesis all the way to the end of the New Testament, there are really only three major periods of miracles: Moses and Joshua, Elijah and Elisha, and Jesus Christ and the apostles. And we are told that in the New Testament, during the tribulation, there will be yet one more. I don't know if you've ever thought about that, but in the New Testament, all of the great miracle workers got together for a conference. Did you know that? It was held on the Mount of Transfiguration. All three of the great miracle workers in biblical history were together: Moses, Elijah, and Christ. I don't know what they talked about. I do know some of the dialogue because I read it in the Bible. But it must have been an incredible moment, the three great miracle workers of all humanity together on Mount of Transfiguration. So Elijah falls into that category of being honored as one of the very few miracle workers in the Bible. He was a prophet and he was a miracle worker.